Welcome to Skytech-Lens. Have you noticed something missing? In many US towns, the familiar Canadian accent has faded away. The Canadians have stopped coming. For decades, they were our friendly neighbors, fueling local economies with their tourism. Now that stream has slowed to a trickle, and in some places, it's dried up. Why? Political tensions, divisive rhetoric, stricter travel policies, and soaring costs have all played a part. For many Canadians, a trip to the States just isn't worth the hassle or expense anymore. They're finding new, more welcoming, and affordable destinations for their vacations. In this video, we'll explore 6 US states hit hardest by this absence, and the economic and cultural fallout that's followed. The last state on our list? Its loss is so profound it signals a major, maybe permanent shift in North American travel. Vermont, once a sanctuary for Canadians, especially Quebecers, is now eerily quiet. The snow still falls, the mountains still beckon, but the familiar hum of French accents and laughter is gone. Once these towns thrived on the energy and excitement brought by their northern neighbors, but now, the silence is almost haunting. Montrealers used to flood the ski slopes and charming towns, creating a vibrant cross-border culture. Every winter, Vermont's villages would come alive with the sound of French-Canadian families, their cars packed with skis and anticipation. Cafes, shops, and inns buzzed with activity, and the local economy flourished thanks to this steady stream of visitors. But now, political chill and stricter border policies have made the trip stressful and unwelcoming. Heightened security, new documentation requirements, and a sense of uncertainty have replaced the easy camaraderie that once defined the border crossing. For many Canadians, the journey south feels less like a weekend escape and more like a bureaucratic ordeal. What was once a quick getaway is now a bureaucratic headache with longer waits and more scrutiny at the border. Families who once made spontaneous trips now hesitate, deterred by the hassle and unpredictability. The spontaneity that fueled Vermont's tourism has all but disappeared. Add in a weak Canadian dollar and rising US prices, and Vermont's affordability has vanished. For Canadians, every dollar spent in Vermont now feels like a splurge, not a bargain. The cost of a ski weekend or a shopping trip has soared, making other destinations more appealing. Canadians are savvy travelers. They're choosing destinations where their money goes further. Many are now looking to Europe, the Caribbean, or even staying closer to home in Quebec's own ski towns. The allure of Vermont's slopes and shops is no longer enough to outweigh the financial and logistical barriers. The impact is visible: empty inns, shuttered boutiques, and ski resorts reporting steep drops in Canadian visitors. Once busy main streets now echo with emptiness, and the local economy is feeling the strain. Businesses that once relied on Canadian dollars are facing tough choices, with some closing their doors for good. Local businesses built on cross-border traffic are struggling to survive. Owners who once welcomed regulars from Montreal and beyond now face empty rooms and dwindling sales. The sense of community that spanned the border is fading, replaced by uncertainty and worry about the future. The cultural loss is just as stark. The French-Canadian chatter, the bilingual signs, the shared traditions, they're fading. Vermont's unique blend of American and Quebecois culture is slipping away, leaving behind a quieter, less colorful landscape. The absence is felt not just in the economy, but in the very spirit of these towns. Vermont's tourism boards are scrambling to attract new visitors, but replacing loyal Canadians is proving nearly impossible. Marketing campaigns target new markets, but the deep-rooted connection with Quebecers can't be replicated overnight. The challenge is not just economic, but cultural, a loss of friendship and familiarity that money can't buy. The state is learning a hard lesson: loyalty is a two-way street, and right now the traffic is only going one way, away. As Vermont's slopes and streets grow quieter, the hope remains that one day, the vibrant cross-border bond will return, bringing life and laughter back to these silent towns. Michigan and Ontario were more than neighbors. They were family. For generations, the border was a place of connection, not division. Friends, relatives, and business partners crossed back and forth with ease, sharing in each other's lives and economies. The Ambassador Bridge and Detroit-Windsor Tunnel once buzzed with cross-border life. Every day, thousands of cars and trucks flowed between the two cities, carrying not just goods but stories, traditions, and dreams. Canadians came for sports, shopping, and entertainment. Detroit's stadiums and malls were filled with visitors from across the river, eager to cheer on teams or hunt for deals. Michiganders visited Windsor for nightlife and wineries. The vibrant streets of Windsor pulsed with American accents, and Michigan plates lined the parking lots of local restaurants and vineyards. Now, border checkpoints are quiet. The once familiar lines of cars and buses have vanished, and the silence is a stark reminder of what's been lost. Businesses in Detroit and beyond feel the loss. Storefronts that once thrived on Canadian customers now sit empty, and the ripple effects are felt in every corner of the community. Political tensions and divisive rhetoric have made Canadians feel unwelcome and uneasy. What was once a friendly border now feels like a barrier, with policies and politics overshadowing decades of goodwill. Add in a tough exchange rate, and the cost of crossing the border has become a real burden. For many, the math just doesn't add up anymore. Shopping trips that once made sense now seem overpriced. The bargains that drew Canadians to Michigan have faded, replaced by uncertainty and higher costs. The economic impact is massive. Hotels, gas stations, and restaurants that depended on cross-border traffic are struggling to survive. Millions in lost revenue from everyday purchases, hotel stays, and gas have left a gaping hole in local economies. The absence of Canadian visitors is felt everywhere, from bustling downtowns to quiet suburbs. Businesses built on Canadian customers are laying off staff and facing closure. Workers who once relied on steady cross-border business now face an uncertain future, and the sense of community is fading. Even towns like Sault Ste. Marie, where families cross daily, are reeling from the disruption. Generations of shared history and daily routines have been interrupted, leaving both sides feeling isolated. Michigan's tourism board is trying to fill the gap with domestic visitors, launching new campaigns and events to attract locals. But the energy and excitement that came from international visitors is hard to replace. The loss is too great. The bridges remain, standing as silent witnesses to a partnership that has been deeply wounded. The goodwill and economic connection have been badly damaged, and it will take time, effort, and trust to rebuild what once seemed unbreakable. Florida was once a winter haven for Canadian snowbirds, second homes, bustling communities, and billions spent each year. Now, the migration has slowed dramatically. Political polarization and controversial policies have made many Canadians feel out of place. Skyrocketing costs, insurance, housing, even a round of golf, have priced out even affluent retirees. Airlines have cut flights, rental cars sit unused, and vacation rentals go unrented. Local businesses, from restaurants to shops, are seeing winter revenues plummet. Even theme parks and real estate are feeling the pinch as Canadians sell off properties and stay away. Domestic tourists can't fill the gap. Snowbirds stayed for months, became part of the community, and spent more. Florida's experience is a warning. Take loyal visitors for granted, and you risk losing more than just their money. For decades, Arizona's sun-drenched deserts and mild winters have been a magnet for thousands of Canadian snowbirds, who would pack up their RVs and make the long journey south to escape the harsh northern cold. These travelers brought life and energy to RV parks and filled golf resorts with laughter and activity. But this year, the scene is dramatically different. RV parks that once bustled with friendly gatherings and community events now sit half-empty, and the fairways of Arizona's famous golf courses are eerily quiet, with far fewer players teeing off under the winter sun. The reasons are complex. Political tensions between the US and Canada, along with stricter border regulations and unpredictable travel restrictions, have made the long drive south less appealing and more stressful for many. Rising costs, RV park fees, green fees at golf courses, and even everyday groceries have chipped away at Arizona's reputation for affordability. For many Canadians, the math just doesn't add up anymore. Instead, they're looking to Mexico or other Sunbelt destinations where their dollar stretches further, and the welcome feels warmer. The impact on Arizona's local economy is profound. RV parks that once had waiting lists now sit vacant, and golf bookings are down sharply, leaving staff with fewer hours and local businesses with fewer customers. For sale signs are popping up across retirement communities as some longtime residents decide to move on. In towns like Yuma, where winter visitors once filled restaurants and shops, business owners are struggling with excess inventory and lost jobs. The ripple effect is being felt everywhere, from empty shelves in local stores to deserted streets that were once alive with activity. Arizona's tourism officials are scrambling to attract new markets and fill the gap left by the absent snowbirds, but the loss of loyal Canadian retirees is a blow that's hard to recover from. Their presence shaped the culture and economy of these communities for generations. Now, the empty RV pads and quiet streets stand as stark reminders of how quickly a decades-old tradition can unravel, leaving Arizona's winter landscape changed and its future uncertain. New York State has always been a top destination for Canadians. Broadway, shopping, Niagara Falls, and easy cross-border trips. Now, the absence is felt everywhere. Hotels and theaters in New York City report fewer Canadian guests and lower ticket sales. Luxury retailers see less foot traffic, and the cost of a trip already high has become prohibitive with the exchange rate. But the real crisis is in border towns like Buffalo, Niagara Falls, and Plattsburgh. These economies depended on Canadians for shopping, gas, and tourism. Now, parking lots are empty, sales have plummeted, and layoffs are common. Niagara Falls' U.S. side is struggling, while the Canadian side thrives with domestic tourists. Plattsburgh, once a hub for Quebecers, faces an existential crisis as its economy unravels. New York's experience shows that even a diverse tourism state is vulnerable when a key market disappears. Maine and the Canadian Maritimes shared a deep, almost familial bond. Summer traditions, shared culture, and bustling coastal towns. This year, that bond is broken. Canadians, feeling unwelcome and priced out, have abandoned their annual trips. Old Orchard Beach and other towns are ghostly quiet. Motels and shops are desperate for business. The cost of a Maine vacation has doubled, making the Caribbean or Canadian destinations more attractive. The tourism boycott has triggered a boom in Canadian domestic travel and a bust in Maine. The loss is personal, small, family-run businesses dependent on regular Canadian visitors, many of whom became friends. Maine is scrambling to attract new tourists, but it's a tough sell against better-known destinations. The empty cottages and quiet streets are a powerful symbol of how quickly a cherished tradition can end. The stories of these 6 states reveal a deeper rupture between the U.S. and its closest ally. The economic fallout is immediate, but the cultural loss may be even greater. Tourism is about more than money, it's about welcome, safety, and respect. Recovery will require more than marketing. It demands a real shift in tone and policy. States can no longer take Canadian visitors for granted. Canadians have options, and they're choosing places that value them. This is a wake-up call. Even the strongest bonds can break. If you want to keep following this story, subscribe to the channel. We'll keep exploring the forces reshaping our world, and the human stories behind the headlines. Thanks for watching. Subscribe the channel for more updates. Thanks.